Picture this scenario, because I guarantee this was you at some point in your life. It's 1995, you're sitting in health class, and your teacher pulls down that iconic poster. The food pyramid, you remember it, right? That colorful triangle that told you exactly what to eat to be healthy. Bread, pasta, and cereal at the bottom, 6 to 11 servings a day. Fruits and vegetables in the middle, meat and dairy higher up, and at the very top, the tiny little sliver for fats and oils that you were supposed to use sparingly. Your teacher, your parents, your doctor, every authority figure in your life told you this was the gospel truth of nutrition. This was science. This was what your body needed, so you did what you were told. You ate your Cheerios for breakfast, your sandwich on wheat bread for lunch, your pasta for dinner. You avoided fat like it was poison. You counted your servings religiously. You were being healthy, right? Fast forward 20 years, you're 40 pounds heavier than you were in college. You've developed type 2 diabetes, or you're pre-diabetic. Your cholesterol is through the roof, even though you've been eating heart-healthy whole grains your entire adult life. You're spending thousands of dollars a year on medications, gym memberships you don't use, and diet programs that don't work. And the whole time, you're wondering what you did wrong. You followed the rules. You ate what they told you to eat. So, why do you feel like garbage? Why can't you lose weight no matter how hard you try? And why is your grocery bill somehow higher than ever, even though you're eating the cheapest foods on the planet? Bread, pasta, rice. My name is Uncle Dan, and I spend way too much time thinking about the invisible systems that quietly transfer wealth from your pocket to someone else's, usually while making you sicker and more dependent in the process. If you've ever wondered why following official nutrition advice made you gain weight instead of lose it, or if you're someone who's tired of being lied to by institutions that are supposed to protect you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, because today we're exposing one of the most successful scams in American history. We're talking about how the U.S. government, influenced by food industry lobbyists, created a nutritional guide that made an entire generation fat, diabetic, and broke, and why they knew exactly what they were doing. Here's the thing about the food pyramid that nobody talks about. It wasn't designed to make you healthy, it was designed to sell products. Specifically, it was designed to sell wheat, corn, and soy, the three crops that American agribusiness produces in massive surplus and desperately needs you to consume in ever-increasing quantities. The pyramid wasn't created by nutritionists working in a lab, concerned only with human health. It was created by the United States Department of Agriculture. And what does the Department of Agriculture do? It promotes American agriculture. It's right there in the name. Their job is to help farmers sell more crops, not to make you thinner. Let me take you back to 1977, because this is where the con really begins. That year, the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Nutrition and Human Needs, led by Senator George McGovern, published the Dietary Goals for the United States. This document recommended that Americans reduce their consumption of fat, especially saturated fat, and increase their consumption of carbohydrates, particularly complex carbohydrates like grains. The idea was that fat, especially the fat from meat and dairy, was causing heart disease, and carbs were healthy, safe, and filling. Now here's the problem. The science behind this recommendation was shaky at best, and blatantly wrong at worst. The main study everyone pointed to was the work of a researcher named Ansel Keys. Keys had done a study called the 7-Country Study, which seemed to show a correlation between saturated fat intake and heart disease. But here's what they didn't tell you. Keys cherry-picked his data. He looked at 22 countries, found that 7 of them fit his hypothesis, and ignored the other 15 that didn't. France, for instance, had high saturated fat intake and low heart disease. Switzerland, same thing. But those countries didn't make it into the study because they contradicted the narrative. Did the government look at this criticism and pump the brakes? No, they doubled down. Why? Because the grain industry, the sugar industry, and the processed food industry had billions of dollars riding on Americans eating more carbs and less fat. They lobbied hard, they funded studies, they paid scientists to say that fat was the enemy and carbs were your friend. And it worked. In 1992, the USDA released the Food Guide Pyramid. Bread, cereal, rice, pasta, 6 to 11 servings a day. They literally told you to base your entire diet on refined carbohydrates. Let's do the math on what this actually means for your body, because this is where the scam becomes obvious. One serving of pasta is about 200 calories, almost entirely from carbohydrates. If you're eating 6 servings of grains a day, the minimum recommendation, that's 200 calories from carbs alone. Your body converts those carbs into glucose, which spikes your blood sugar. Your pancreas responds by dumping insulin into your bloodstream to bring your blood sugar back down. Insulin is a storage hormone. Its job is to take that glucose and store it as fat, so you eat the healthy breakfast cereal, your blood sugar spikes, insulin floods your system, and your body stores the excess as fat. 2 hours later, your blood sugar crashes and you're hungry again, so you eat more carbs, and the cycle repeats 6 to 11 times a day. This is the hamster wheel they put you on. You're not fat because you lack willpower. You're not diabetic because you're lazy. You're fat and diabetic because the government told you to eat a diet that is physiologically designed to make you fat and diabetic. And the best part, the food industry gets rich while you get sick. Now you might be thinking, Uncle Dan, come on, they wouldn't deliberately make people sick just to sell more bread. And you're right to be skeptical, but let me show you exactly how much money is at stake, and you'll understand why this isn't a conspiracy theory, it's just a conspiracy. The grain industry in the United States is worth over $50 billion annually. That includes wheat, corn, rice, and oats. The processed food industry, which relies heavily on cheap grains and sugars, is worth over $200 billion. These companies, General Mills, Kellogg's, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year on lobbying. In 2020 alone, the food and agriculture sector spent over $170 million lobbying Congress. They donate to campaigns, they fund nutrition research, they pay dietitians and doctors to promote their products. They even write the dietary guidelines themselves by placing their executives on the advisory committees. This isn't speculation. In 2015, the New York Times exposed that Coca-Cola had paid millions of dollars to researchers to promote the idea that exercise, not diet, was the key to weight loss. The goal was to shift attention away from the fact that sugary drinks were making people obese. When the story broke, the lead researcher resigned in disgrace and the research organization disbanded, but the damage was done. An entire generation believed that they could out-exercise a bad diet, which is mathematically impossible. And here's the truly insidious part. The companies that profit from making you fat are the same companies that profit from treating your fatness. The pharmaceutical industry makes billions selling diabetes medications, cholesterol drugs, and blood pressure pills. Novo Nordisk, the maker of Ozempic, is now worth over $400 billion, largely because obesity and diabetes have become epidemics. The diet industry, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, all of them, make $70 billion a year convincing you that you just need more willpower and a better plan, when the real problem is that you've been eating poison labeled as health food. You're not the customer in this system. You are the product. They sell you the disease, then they sell you the cure. And the government plays along because the same lobbyists who fund nutrition research also fund political campaigns. Let me show you what happened to America after the food pyramid was introduced. In 1980, before the pyramid, about 15% of American adults were obese. By 2000, after a decade of following the pyramid's advice, that number had jumped to 30%. Today, it's over 42%. Type 2 diabetes, which used to be called adult-onset diabetes because it was so rare in young people, is now common in children. We literally had to rename the disease because kids as young as 8 are developing it. Heart disease rates didn't go down like the pyramid promised. They stayed flat or went up. The only thing that went up consistently was the profits of food and pharmaceutical companies. And let's talk about the financial cost, because this isn't just a health crisis, it's an economic crisis. The average American spends about $7,500 per year on food. If you're following the food pyramid, you're spending a huge chunk of that on grains, processed foods, and low-fat products that are more expensive than whole foods because they've been engineered and marketed. A box of cereal costs $5 and gives you maybe 8 servings. A dozen eggs, which would actually fill you up and provide protein and healthy fats, costs $3 and gives you 12 servings. But the pyramid told you to eat cereal, not eggs, because eggs have cholesterol, and cholesterol is bad. Except it turns out dietary cholesterol doesn't significantly affect blood cholesterol for most people. They lied. Then there's the medical cost. If you develop type 2 diabetes from eating a high-carb diet, you're looking at an average of $9,600 per year in medical expenses. That's medications, doctor visits, testing supplies, and eventually complications like nerve damage, kidney disease, and amputations. Over a lifetime, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you develop heart disease, add another $10,000 to $20,000 per year. You're not just sick, you're broke. And the people who told you to eat this way are profiting from every stage of your decline. But here's what really gets me angry, and this is the part that should make you furious too. They knew. The scientists knew. The government officials knew. The food companies definitely knew. There were researchers screaming from the rooftops in the 1980s and 1990s that high-carb, low-fat diets were making people fat. They were ignored, silenced, or ridiculed. Dr. Robert Atkins published his low-carb diet book in 1972, before the food pyramid, and he was attacked by the medical establishment as a dangerous quack. Turns out he was right. Study after study has since shown that low-carb, higher-fat diets are more effective for weight loss and metabolic health than the low-fat, high-carb approach the government pushed for 40 years. In 2002, science journalist Gary Taubes wrote an article for the New York Times Magazine called "What If It's All Been a Big Fat Lie?" He laid out the evidence that the low-fat craze was based on flawed science and corporate interests. The response from the nutrition establishment was furious denial, but the evidence kept piling up. By 2011, even mainstream institutions like Harvard were quietly backing away from the food pyramid and admitting that not all fats are bad and not all carbs are good. And what did the government do? In 2011, they replaced the food pyramid with My Plate. They changed the graphic, but the message stayed largely the same. Grains are good, fill half your plate with them. They just rearranged the deck chairs on the Titanic and hoped you wouldn't notice the ship was still sinking. Now, let me tell you about the hidden tax you've been paying because of this scam. It's not just the money you've spent on food and medical care. It's the time, it's the energy, it's the quality of life. Think about how much time you've wasted on diets that didn't work, how much mental energy you've burned hating your body, feeling like a failure, wondering why you couldn't just have more discipline. How many opportunities you've missed because you didn't have the energy or the confidence. How many years you've shaved off your life expectancy because you've been sick and tired. This is the real cost of the food pyramid. It's not just money, it's your life. They stole your health and then convinced you it was your fault. They made you fat, sold you the cure, and then shamed you when the cure didn't work. And all the while they were getting richer. So, what do you do with this information? How do you fight back against a system that's been lying to you for 40 years? You start by ignoring the pyramid. Throw it out. It's garbage. It was always garbage. Here's what actually works. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, literally. First, flip the pyramid upside down. The foods they told you to eat sparingly, healthy fats, meat, eggs, fish, nuts, should be the foundation of your diet. Your body needs fat. Your brain is 60% fat. Every cell in your body has a membrane made of fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. Excess insulin from too many carbs makes you fat. Eat the steak, eat the eggs, use butter, use olive oil. Stop being afraid of food that humans have been eating for thousands of years. Second, cut the grains. I know that sounds extreme, but hear me out. You don't need bread. You don't need pasta. You don't need cereal. These are not essential nutrients. Everything you get from grains, you can get from vegetables, meat, and dairy in more bioavailable forms. What grains do provide is cheap calories that spike your blood sugar and make you hungry again in 2 hours. If you're serious about losing weight and feeling better, try 30 days without grains. Just 30 days. See how you feel. I promise you'll notice the difference. Third, eat real food. If it comes in a box with a long ingredient list, it's not food. It's a food product. It's been engineered to be addictive, shelf-stable, and profitable. It hasn't been designed to nourish you. Stick to the perimeter of the grocery store. Meat, fish, eggs, vegetables, fruits, nuts. If your great-grandmother wouldn't recognize it as food, don't eat it. Fourth, stop counting calories and start counting quality. A 200-calorie avocado is not the same as a 200-calorie bagel. The avocado will fill you up, provide healthy fats, and keep your blood sugar stable. The bagel will spike your insulin, make you hungry in an hour, and store as fat. Calories in, calories out is a myth that ignores basic human metabolism. Your body isn't a simple calculator, it's a chemistry lab, and different foods create different chemical reactions. Fifth, and this is critical, take back control from the system. The food industry and the pharmaceutical industry need you to be sick. They need you to be overweight, insulin-resistant, and dependent on their products. When you get healthy, you stop being a customer. You stop buying their processed foods. You stop buying their medications. You stop buying their diet plans. They lose money, and that's exactly why they don't want you to know the truth. Your health is a threat to their business model, and look, I know this is hard. I know you've been told your whole life that grains are healthy and fat is bad. I know it feels wrong to eat bacon and eggs for breakfast instead of oatmeal, but you have to ask yourself, how's the government's advice been working out for you? Are you healthier now than you were 10 years ago? Are you thinner? Do you have more energy? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time to stop listening to the people who got you into this mess. Here's what most people don't realize. The system relies on your ignorance and your compliance. They rely on you believing that the government wouldn't lie about something as basic as food. They rely on you thinking that if you're fat, it must be your fault. You must be lazy or weak. They rely on you continuing to buy their products, take their medications, and blame yourself for failing. But once you see the scam, once you understand that the food pyramid was never about your health, you can't unsee it. And that knowledge is the first step toward freedom. The people who escape this trap aren't the ones with the most willpower. They're the ones who understand the game and refuse to play. They're the ones who recognize that their body isn't broken, the system is broken. They're the ones who take back control and start making decisions based on what actually works, not on what some lobbyist-funded guideline tells them to do. So here's your action step, and it's simple. This week, I want you to track what you eat. Not to count calories, but to see how much of your diet is grains and processed carbs. Just track it. Write it down. Be honest. Then I want you to replace one grain-based meal with a meal based on protein and vegetables. Just one. See how you feel. See if you're less hungry. See if you have more energy. That's it. One meal. You can handle that. Then next week, replace another meal. And the week after that, another. Slowly, methodically, you're going to deprogram yourself from 40 years of lies. You're going to rebuild your diet on a foundation of real food. And as you do, you're going to notice something amazing. You're going to lose weight without counting calories. Your energy is going to stabilize. Your cravings are going to disappear. You're going to stop feeling like a failure and start feeling like you're in control. And all because you stopped believing the people who were making money from keeping you sick. This journey is going to be hard. You're going to get pushback from family, from friends, from doctors who still believe in the food pyramid, but you're also going to feel better than you have in years. You're going to save money on food and medical care. You're going to add years to your life. And most importantly, you're going to prove to yourself that you were never the problem. The system was the problem, and now you know how to beat it. If this video made you see nutrition differently, if you're ready to stop being a victim of a 40-year scam, do me a favor and share this with someone who needs to hear it. We've been lied to for too long. It's time to fight back with knowledge and action. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and let's keep exposing the invisible systems that keep us broke, sick, and dependent. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.